Welcome, everybody. This is the Inner Vibers Club. Actually, it's the Divine Feminine Ascension Council coming to you through the Inner Vibers Club with our beautiful soul brother, John Bass, who runs the Inner Vibers Club. If you do not know what that is on Clubhouse, check it out. We try to do weekly discussions on Ascension topics. So today, I think we're just going to see where it takes us. But I had actually mentioned, and of course, my throat's already going crazy. I had actually mentioned that what's been coming up for me lately is, and of course, everybody's going to be nodding their heads, right, is seeing this divide happening in humanity. And we've been seeing this for a long time, and people talk about the two groups. And I feel like there are many more than two, but what we want to talk about today or start with today is kind of the three main groups. And so I'll lead us in. I'll just kind of describe what I was thinking when I came up with this topic is, there are three groups really prevalent right now. And the one, if you feel like you're really aware of what's going on in the world, we call it awakening, right? And you're seeing kind of all these lies we've been living under, and you're seeing through the illusion, that's one group. And then we have this group in the middle that are just now kind of coming around to that. And they're in, and I also feel like that group is where we're feeling most of the fear from right now, because they're waking up and they're afraid. They're afraid of what they're seeing because it's so new and raw and scary, and it happens. That happens. I think we all have to move through that. And then we've got the group that refuse to open their eyes, are holding on for dear life, and are kind of keeping, they're not keeping us stagnant, but what they're doing is they're kind of creating a push-pull energy. They're kind of creating this tug of war, and all three groups, are participating in that. But as we talked about before we started recording, and I know people are going to say, yeah, there's a lot more. There are many, many groups going on, everybody. But I think these are the three kind of main over groups, if you will, that's going on, and it's definitely intense, and we're feeling. For those of us who came here to feel everything, right, for everybody, and to process things for humanity, we're feeling a lot of it. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. So whoever wants to jump in and give their thoughts, let's do this.
Well,
go.
Wendy, first of all, I'm super impressed by how you opened the room.
Thank you.
That was a pro. You've come a long way since we started doing this stuff.
My gosh.
Kudos, man.
Thank you.
I've been away for a little while on my own.
I know.
Yeah,
I missed you
pleasure.
terribly, actually.
Yeah, it's been. We usually work together on a weekly basis, and it's been. It's nice to see. I left you for a month.
You
left
did.
You for a month to your own devices, and look what I come back to.
Oh my goodness!
Brilliant.
I grew.
You did grow. Yeah, no. There's. I see things from a sort of my own perspective, and the people that are most deeply into believing everything that's going on and getting caught up in the drama of it. Yeah, the ones that are kind of clinging on to the ego story, for want of a better word, the ego story. They're clinging on to that.
Yeah.
And it's it's who can blame them, really, because I mean they everybody has their own journey, and the people that the people that are, everybody's in different branches on the tree, so the general direction is that everybody's waking up, but everybody's waking up at their own pace, and some people are still asleep, and then some people are having woken up and they're not morning people. To give you an analogy, to give it, to put it into a funny metaphor. So there's a lot of people taking everything very seriously, and I think that's part of the thing, is everybody's holding on to. We all are holding on to bits that eventually we're going to let go of anyway. and be totally free. So it's just a process of that unfolding. But yeah, there's going to be perceived division, separation, opposition, up
Right.
until the point that there isn't. You know,
Yep.
that when that illusion falls away, people are going to be like, "Well, we were one all along."
Right.
Yeah.
But that's going to just take some time to get through. You know, you can't have people from one day to the next being fully awakened, fully enlightened, and knowing that they are one with everything. So it's just a process, I think, and there's a lot of kind of tribulation and turbulence at the moment because of that exact reason. All this stuff needs people. I was from my studies. If the world was good, we wouldn't have a reason to look beyond it or to
True.
look back at ourselves. So it's kind of that the pain of the world is making us look and making us actually look past all that stuff that we think that we need that's important and actually look at what's actually really look at what the real game is. So yeah, that's kind of my opening comments for that. Bianca,
There
what
you
do you
go.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I really love your point of view, John. And what I'm feeling and seeing as I tune into this is actually a push and pull between, the ones that are still asleep, that are buying into the 3D matrix, into the again agenda. They are living in fear, right? Like I'm looking at it a bit from a binary perspective of zero and ones, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
if you will, the zero, the ones that are still asleep, they're buying into the matrix and they're perpetuating fear, right? They have this fear of loss, of fear of emotions, fear of physical problems, all of that. And then you have the light workers, or the awakened ones, right? The ones that are perpetuating love. If we're looking at the ultimate divide, that is fear and love, what we're experiencing. And the third group, it kind of feels like the third group is emerging through the push and pull between the other two groups, right? Because as we see the fear mongering and the fear that's been perpetuated, the collective shadow, if we will call it, this way being stronger, it gives more people the opportunity to step into the light and to start their journey of enlightenment, right? So the push and pull between the two groups is actually bringing forth and giving birth to this new awareness that is planted like a seed in the people that are just awakening, right? That's kind of how I see it. And so, as the shadow is growing stronger, more people are stepping out of the shadow because also the light needs to be stronger. We're living in a energetically in a bipolar, in a binary world, right? Zero and one. So if one grows stronger, then the other one kind of has to put up to it, at least at one point, right? We can't stay in one or the other for too long, right? Unless we're transforming, and that's what we're doing, right? We're transforming a collective shadow. So yeah, so that's kind of how I see it. I don't know if that resonates with you guys at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it almost feels like we're coming to this point of, the divide will continue to stretch us, like a rubber band, all of us on this kind of spectrum, until it snaps.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like kind of like the 0 point, and then we're all in the 0 point. And so it's going to be, and, I've seen, and I think we talked about this last week, is tuning in. John and I do this, have this collaboration where we provide monthly energy forecasts and healing tools, and tuning into what's coming in the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks. Is I'm seeing this, it's just, I really want to tell people that it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, but we've got a, kind of, like John said, we've got more turbulence coming, but it's about
Yeah.
where we're at and being okay with where we're at, and using that perspective to be the observer of what's going on, and to still continue to work through, it's all about working through our own stuff, right? But the thing is that's what's going to lead us to the unity consciousness, is everybody, because we've been denying, everybody's been denying their own energy for so long. This is a brand new, it's a brand new thing for a lot of people. I never had tuned into my energy. I'd never, asked my body what it wanted to eat, or, what it wanted, how it wanted to move today or whatever. I'd never done that ever in 42 years of my life before I had my awakening. And now it's like, I can't not. Now I'm like so connected. It's like, how did I exist without doing this? And so once you get into that energy, I think too, and it's there isn't I think John said this, there's no choice at this point. This is happening. This is happening on the galactic level and beyond. And we're just kind of, I sometimes describe it as, we're kind of the flies on the horse's ass. Like, we are just along for the ride. And, the horse may try to swat us off, but we have our mission, and we're going to, some of us are here for the long haul. And some of us, as we were discussing, we're already kind of getting messages of light workers who are just kind of stepping over the threshold, or ready to, because they have completed their missions. And I'd been hearing that kind of thing for a while now, probably from this person who is now ready to step over. But, that once we're done with our mission, a lot of us were just going to go home, in quotes, because we will have completed what we came here to do. So it's a crazy, everybody is where they're at, right? And we're there, if we can, and we did a whole topic on this, right? But the judgment, letting go of the judgment where everybody is, and just allowing, like, it's almost like, okay, we need to allow that tug of war. We need to let these people hold on for as long as they possibly can, because it's not our job to rip it out of their hands. The universe is doing that. That's happening. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, but we're here to kind of ease the pain on the other side, right? We're here to, we're here. So that's my.
Yeah. And I love, Wendy, that what you described, I pulled some cards, and what you described is literally the image on the first card that I've been drawing for us for this topic. It's the Three of Swords. And what I'm seeing on the card is just a heart being torn into many different directions, and a person that is very much in pain and in grief. And I feel this is what's coming, right? For the people that are still in resistance, that are still asleep, they're going to go through a little bit of a harsh awakening, I want to call it, because that's what they need, because they're really deep asleep. Right? So imagine you're really deeply asleep, and I would want to wake you up. It probably is not enough for me to call out your name, right? I might need a glass of water, and I may just, put the glass of water into your face, and then you're awake, right?
You might need a cattle prod.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm seeing, I'm seeing those people are, being pushed by the upward energy, right? We're in an ascension energy. They're pushed by this energy.
I feel that,
to go into their, into their pain spots, into their places of loss and grief and trauma and separation. What I'm actually feeling, it's a separation within themselves, right? Where they're feeling kind of like, that their higher self is coming in, and they're still very much in ego, and they're feeling this push and pull between those two sides, right? The light and dark within them. And as the light within them grows, we will see a little bit more of mourning and grief and pain and loss, right? Because the light illuminates all. And then what I'm seeing in the second card is really beautiful. And I feel this is, us as the ones that have already awakened. I see the Ace of Pentacles, and I see it as two hands that are holding a beautiful seed. Looks like a mandala, right? Like orange, yellow, that ties in for me into the second and the third chakra, right? Or even the first, I see orange, yellow, a little bit of red. And we're kind of holding that seed of security, right? We're holding it in our hands, and we're offering it to them. Right?
Yeah.
We're offering it to them, and when they're ready to accept it, then it can start taking root.
Right, but we
in
can't
their
shove it down their
consciousness.
throats, unfortunately.
Exactly. It's
That's
an
just not
offering.
cool. We can
Yeah,
try.
it's an offering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
it's
to
an
be ready.
offering, and
Yeah.
they're only, and that's what I'm feeling as well. They're only gonna see this offering of light. You know, it's a very bright card, and it's a card of new beginnings as well, right? It's an ace. They're
Oh,
only able
good.
to see it from the place of their deepest darkness, right? The place
Right.
of their deepest trauma. Because when you're already, you know, you think you're in a light room and someone's offering you more light, you're not able to see it, right? However,
Oh,
this is a
that's a good
different light.
analogy. Yeah.
Imagine,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and imagine you've been in an artificial light, right?
Hmm.
Artificial, it's not really real. It feels real, but it's really not that real. And someone is trying to offer you the real light of unconditional love. You're still in a lit room, you're not going to see it. However, you know, once this artificial light has been taken away from you, you're going to sit in the dark for some time. However, then you're really able to see this offering of light. And
Right. When you can
then it
disconnect
can,
from it, because there's so much emotion attached, right? They're
exactly,
sitting in that. Yeah.
yeah,
When you can see it
yeah,
as something in
and
front of
then
you
you can see the
versus,
heart.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the third card that I'm seeing here, and it's the last one that I pulled, is the Magician, right?
Oh,
And it
good.
kind of feels like
That's a great
the
card.
the our yeah, our oversouls, you know, are being the magicians, and they're playing with all the ingredients that they're given, right? To help us on this journey. You know, it's this beautiful
Right.
mixture of light that I'm seeing in this world that this magician is creating, right? And that's what we're stepping into next. That's what's
Yes.
coming next for us, where we're totally out of the chaos of separation, and we're looking at it from the magician that is playing with the ingredients, that is playing with the dark,
Right.
that's playing with the light, and that is just, you know, enjoying the game, having fun with it, and being the observer, as you said, Wendy, right?
Right. So important.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, and honestly, I'm not there yet, right? Because I'm
Right.
helping
No, me either.
to transform a lot of emotions. Yeah. And we're there still with you guys, with everyone. We're feeling those emotions. We're going still through our traumas as well. And yet, we're also starting to offer those seeds of light, right, to others who are going to the darker places where we've already been, right?
Right.
And we're looking up to the magicians who, as you said, you know, are in the next phase. They are ready to maybe even leave the planet when they completed their mission. And then they can be on, for example, a spaceship, right? Being the magicians, playing with the ingredients, playing with the energy, and playing this game from a different perspective, more
Exactly.
from
Yeah.
an, you know, looking down perspective than from in the middle of the soup, right? If you were still in the
Right.
middle of the soup.
Yeah, and so it's like this really strong because whenever I see the magician too, I feel like okay, it's really strong guides coming through too, and at the same
Yes,
time, who we are, who we're stepping into.
yeah,
So yeah, absolutely, that
yeah.
resonates. It's funny because I pulled
And
three
the
cards
beauty,
as well, and I didn't know you were pulling three.
yeah,
And so, but you know, we're talking about the
awesome. And
three-way divide, I guess, so
even,
that makes sense. But yeah,
yeah, and the people who've already moved up, right, who are already, you know, in this neutral observer magician perspective, right? They've been in the soup, right? They've been
yes,
in the mug. They've been doing it in the slacks. They've, you know, it's not that they haven't done it and they are trying to help. They've done it, so they have this wisdom within themselves. They know which ingredients they need to give us. They know exactly how it feels because they've been here, and that's why they
right.
had to go through this, and that's why we're going through this as well, right? Because we then are going to know what the collective needs, what the people are needing,
Right. We have
right?
to go, we have to have experienced it ourselves in the muck as, you know, as not the
Yeah,
observer, right? To really know how to
yeah,
do it, do it kind of through again. And I feel like a lot of us too, like we feel like, even though this is the wrong way to say it, right? But just to get the proper message out there is we feel like we've done it wrong so many times that now we're here to do it right.
mm,
And but we had to
mm,
experience those mistakes, you know, and I always say there's no mistakes, there's just choices, and
yeah,
you can still, nothing is going to derail you permanently, right? You can still get to where you need to go no matter what. But yeah, it's, you know, we've been through these lifetimes where we're like, okay, I did that last time, that didn't work. So
mm,
we're going to
mm,
try it differently
mm,
this time. Yeah, those are
mm,
perfect. And I
yeah,
love, and it's such a positive message to the wizard as the third card is
yeah,
you guys were not, you know, like I've talked about before, about almost 3 months ago now, I saw when I tuned into the collective energy, this, we had three timelines in front of us. The one we're still on, kind of the straightaway. We got this one on the left that is still kind of an option. The one on the right was this dark AI controlled prison matrix. That is gone. That has completely fallen away. I do not see it or feel it anymore at all. So it's up to us, and really when I say us, I mean for the most part, the humans who are going through this for the first time, right? The human souls who are doing this for the first time. They have to choose. We really don't choose. We can't choose for them. We could choose all day long, but we're just here helping, right? We're the kindergarten teachers. We can't do everything for the kid. That's a terrible way to put it. I hope nobody gets offended by that, but you know what I mean. And it's just it's just the way that the process is working right now.
Yeah, and there's so much shadow that you and I, we always talk about that we're ready and the light workers are ready, and that is so true. And at the same time, it's teaching us patience, right? Because if everything would unfold at once, if humanity would be able to see all the collective shadow right in their faces at once, it would re-traumatize them, right? It's like in trauma therapy.
I think it would implode the entire planet, possibly. I mean, it would be way too much for everybody. Yeah.
They would be so traumatized, right? They would feel like such a huge wave of emotions like guilt and shame and frustration and anger. It'll be too much for the planet to hold this vibration. So it needs to be a slow process. And what we're experiencing, right? I feel like, and I guess you do as well, Wendy, when we were in other dimensions doing Ascension, it went a lot faster, right? It just, it was a smoother ride. It was like waves and it was just faster. And now we're being taught patience. We're being taught to stay in this dimension where everything is just really slow, and to hold our energy and vibration for what feels to us for a very long time. And that's what we get to experience for the first time. And this is where we get to learn and to grow, is by not pushing and shoving the informations of awakening in people's faces because we're uncomfortable where we are, right? We need to be comfortable where we're at as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And and I got a visual too when you were saying that about kind of like a cue, right? And it's now is not the time we can't butt in line. We can't push our way to the front of the line, nor can we force other people to go in front of us, right? Or pull people along with us. Everybody's got to kind of hold their place in line, and move when they're ready to move. So absolutely. Yeah. And the cards I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'll give just one more thing and then I'll go to time for your cards. It feels like we're really, now even more moving into this place of sovereignty where everyone has to make their own choices. People are coming out of this sleep dream-like state where choices have been made for them, right? And they're now, given the opportunity to make their own choices, and they need to, before you can walk, you start to, crawl on the floor. Before they can really walk into that, being a sovereign being, making their own decisions, they're going to have to test it out first. And that's also something that we're experiencing, is where people are making, more and more choices on, by themselves, and it may seem like they're making the wrong choices. However, the fact that they are starting to choose for themselves is actually already a step forward, even if they may choose something that we disagree with, right?
Yeah, at least they're doing something. At least they're taking charge. And
at least
that empowerment is so foreign to most people that I've noticed too for my own journey. That when I have kind of been opened up to something new like that, right? You kind of go the other extreme for a while you're finding that balance. And so they're gonna want to make all these like I know a lot of readers will say, oh well, so such and such is in retrograde. Try not to make any big decisions during this time. And do people listen? No. People don't listen. And, for a lot of us, that doesn't even apply. I get that. Like, not everybody has to, do that. But, it's just funny to me. It's almost like, because the energy will come in where you feel like you need to make these big decisions. And the people who are still kind of learning that are going to do it. They're just going to jump and they're just going to go and then go, oh, okay, crap. Yeah, but like you said, they're learning how to navigate their own lives versus somebody else pulling the strings every step of the way. And it's
Exactly,
beautiful.
right? And yeah, and this is the preparation for everyone really being sovereign, where we're not going to need a political or a leadership system like we have right now, right? And we need people to test this out first. We need people to come into that space before the system can really collapse.
And it
Otherwise,
is
it'll
going
be
to
too
look
much.
like chaos for a while, right? But it's us figuring out what to do next. Oh, Amir's here. Yay.
Hey, hello.
Hey, Amir.
Hello,
Welcome.
Amir.
Glad you could join us.
It's good to be here. How are you all?
We are, I think we're all doing pretty good, hanging in there, talking
good.
about all
Really
this
good,
stuff
mate.
going on in the energy right now, and the division,
Cool.
right? The division and the kind of
Wow.
Yeah, what's happening with people, where
It
people
sounds
are at.
interesting.
So yeah, Bianca was
It
just
sounds
sharing some
interesting.
cards she had pulled, and if it's okay, I'm going to share mine real quick. Is everybody okay with that? So we both pulled 3 cards,
Yeah, for sure.
which was cool because we didn't talk about this beforehand or anything. But I was talking about before we got on how, just to kind of lead into this deck that I chose, how I've been getting a strong message that we have been doing so much cultivating of the divine feminine. We're really rocking it, you guys, men and women. We are rocking this divine feminine. Men are getting in touch with their emotions. Men are, they're really moving their consciousness to their hearts and making heart-centered decisions. And it's beautiful to watch. And it's these divine men are coming out of the woodwork now. And so for the women especially, I think it's a big message to allow that masculine to come through. Because for so long now, we've been like, okay, we need to take the reins. The men are really freaking out. And we've been kind of leading the way, just because that's the way it is right now. Like, we're coming into this age of divine feminine, right? Not women, but, the divine feminine within, and that kind of compassion and heart-centeredness. And so the message was coming through really strong that, and, like I said, for women especially, it's time for us to allow that masculine to come through us, to come through the men in our lives, to come through the women in our lives, because we've been we've kind of had him on a leash for a while, for lack of a better, that's a terrible way to put it, but you know what I mean? And we have to let that come through now. And that brings through energy of action and doing, and, like taking these things that we've been creating and cultivating and actually creating in the physical, making them come to fruition, making them come true, making them become real. And so I had bought this deck, a Viking Oracle deck, and I was talking to a friend of mine. We were in the shop looking at card decks, and I said, God, I wish there were more decks with men in them. All the decks are goddesses, and and so many women, right? And there'll be a few men maybe scattered in each deck, but so few that are focused on the masculine. And then I see this Viking Oracle deck and this big strong Viking on the cover, and I'm like, well, I have to have that. So that's the deck I chose. That's the reason I chose it, because I'm trying to allow this divine, because for me personally, I was very much in the masculine. And so when I realized that and started to heal my feminine, I went kind of the other extreme for a while, trying to find the balance. And so I've had this kind of nervousness of allowing the masculine to come back through. And so I think that's what's coming now for everybody is, okay, time to act and do. It's okay to let that divine masculine come through now, because we've been doing so much work. It truly is a divine energy now. And so the cards that I pulled, interestingly, the energy kind of had me set them down backwards from right to left instead of left to right. And I literally got the numbers, I think, are the important thing here, because I want it to be a kind of a quick message. But the numbers were 44, 43, 42. So as I laid them down, now I'm looking at them left to right, and it's 42, 43, 44. So beautiful forward movement energy. We are doing it. We are moving forward. But also the 42 being the first card. 42 always comes through to me. In fact, I have started my autobiography, just interestingly how this connects, and I'm calling it 42 because I began my awakening at 42, and the age and the number 42 also translates in computer coding to kind of it's kind of a wild card. in like a card game, if you think of it that way. It can be anything you want it to be. So when 42 comes through in readings and stuff, I always think this is telling us that our lives can be whatever we want them to be. We are the creators, right? And so I thought that was beautiful coming through. And then just that forward movement into 44, which is a master number, right? So it's all beautiful stuff. It's all, like I said, it's going to look chaotic and it might feel chaotic, but it's up to us at the stage that we're at, I think, because the four of us, I do believe, are in this group kind of where we're awakening, right? We're aware. We're figuring out how to stay in the observer role so that we can be sovereign, stay sovereign, and continue our own personal healing so that we're ready when the masses start coming for help, right? Like that's what we're doing here. So anyway, that was for my cards. So I thought those were cool messages. So
very cool.
Yeah. I mean, you can't see the pictures anyway, so I could try to describe them. But if anybody's interested, it's called the Viking Oracle, Wisdom of the Ancient Norse, and it's by Stacy DeMarco, and it's a beautiful, beautiful deck. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. And I love, how he described the forward movement, particularly as well.
Right.
With happening. Those numbers coming right after each other. Yeah, it's absolutely happening. And we talk about this all the time, right? This may feel like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. However, we are still moving forward. We need to remember that. Doesn't matter how slow it is. We are in this upward or forward moving energy, right? And yeah, we're going to see still, collective shadow being pushed to the surface. We're going to see that grief and that pain and that trauma. And it's so important that we are holding the light for those people, right? That we're not being sucked into too much of the trauma, right? We're going to dip in and out, and that's okay. It's important though that we are regaining our trust and confidence in our abilities, our love, and our higher vibrations, right? So it's so important to hold that energy as we're navigating this 3-way divide, and that we're keeping offering people that unconditional love and that light, where we're also stopping to come out of place of judgment, right? It doesn't matter which choices they have made in the past, as long as they're accepting that path of light, right? That seed of light that we're offering, then it's okay, right? Whatever has been their path, whatever has been in the past has brought them to that place. So it is all good, right? We're forgiving everything in that moment that we're offering it to them.
Yes, yeah.
On this
That's
journey.
Christ consciousness, right? And self-forgiveness is a big, 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 I think it's definitely a bigger part of this journey for me personally than I ever imagined. Like really forgiveness is all about forgiving the self.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how we're breaking the karmic wheel as well, and the karmic circle, right? Is saying that, well, whatever I have done in this lifetime, I do not need to atone for my sins in this lifetime in another lifetime, right? I can forgive them
because it's not about,
the karmic wheel.
Right, and karma, we've talked about this too. I think the definition of karma has really evolved with our journey too, as we used to think it was, it used to be a bad thing, right? Oh, karma's a bitch, right? Everybody used to say that, and it's a punishment. And we don't see it like that anymore. I feel like we see it, it's a balancing, right? It's a balancing. And ultimately it's a choice. Like I even believe that you can come through, like, let's say the guy, the soul who came through and lived the life as Hitler, excuse me. My throat's going again. So I must be coming on to something important. But, the soul who chose to come through as Hitler, they would not necessarily have to come back and live any more lives because, once you cross over, you can just stay there and hang out and just ride the wave of the ascension. And because he obviously was a light worker in dark worker form, right? Or however you want to say it, because he was a huge change maker, right? They're all light workers. And that soul, just a side note too, how brave would a soul have to be to volunteer for a life like that? And to be attached to something that, people resent and hate for generations afterwards. But, he wouldn't necessarily have to, or that soul, I shouldn't say he, but that soul doesn't necessarily have to come back and be punished for what he did, right? So it's all about the balancing, and it's all about the choice. What do we want to, like John says all the time, it's all about the experience. there is nothing else. So
yeah, indeed. There's a guy I met on Facebook. It was my old Facebook account before that one got
before you got kicked
locked and
off.
lost. But yeah, he was a funny guy, and it had a picture of a monkey, and it's just like the monkey goes round, and it's the experience that we all have, and that's it's something that Bashar says.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, the reality isn't real, but your experience of it is.
I like that.
Things like that, Yeah, exactly. They ring true, because that is very true. It is the whole experience of it. So while the choice isn't that important, it's the experience of that choice that really matters. And
talking about just make a
everything
decision,
that's good.
Right? It doesn't matter what you decide, just make one. But yes, yeah,
go with something. Like everything that we're seeing now. The other thing that I've come upon recently is let the world happen. Enough people are out there trying to control the world and trying to impose their will, their way, their beliefs, their emotions, their thoughts upon the world. Like, how's that going to help? It's not going to help anything. Like, you're the whole trying to force people to think a certain way or do certain thing
right.
is not going to be. How would they like it if someone did that to them? It's not going to work. It's just going to provoke more and more resistance. So that's where you have to kind of let go and realize that this is just all a dream that we're sharing, and we're going to wake up sooner or later and realize it's a lucid dream, and we're all just sharing a dream together, and there is no separation. So.
Yeah.
But that's intellectually that's a very easy thing to understand. But
right, yeah.
Experientially, is a completely different story, because you've got to let go of your whole concept of separation and division and everything else like that. And that stuff that, as you say, we've practiced for eons. And there's something else that's funny that's cropped up in my studies is. The only reason you're here is because you desire to be a body still. And I thought that's a right hook to the face right there, So
that's a little trigger.
It frames it in a different way, because the only reason we're here is because we desire to be. And that actually puts a completely different spin on it from where I'm looking at it from, because then you're thinking of, right, I'm not here as a victim. I'm here I'm here because I'm here for an experience, and there's in that experience it can't be boring.
right.
You get like and this comes back to the world being good, and I went away for that course, and that's helped a great deal. But the main thing that I've come back with is, what are we going for? I'm going for freedom. That's what I'm going for.
That's a good one-word way to say it.
Above and beyond anything else. Money, health, relationships. Freedom is on top of all of them, because once you have freedom, you have everything else.
Right.
And you can word that as happiness. You can word that as equanimity. There's only a few words that can describe being in that state, but that's something that I've taken a long time to get to.
Yeah.
Because a long time with me, and honestly, it's been the money, it's been the success in business. But what are those things really pointing to?
Yeah.
What are those?
Why
things
do we
really,
want these?
What
things,
are those things
right?
really?
Yeah.
Why do you want those things? Exactly. Why do you want them? And if more people, any action that someone takes out in the world, whether it's a perceived good or whether it's a perceived negative action, they are looking for happiness and freedom out of that action. Otherwise, they wouldn't take it.
Exactly.
They're looking for the feeling behind it, right? Most of all.
Yeah. They're looking. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, they're just looking for, they're not looking for the outside circumstance, but they're looking at that, what is it creating within their body, right? What is it doing to them and their vibration?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're
Even
looking
though they may
for,
not
right?
know
The
those
feeling of
words,
joy.
that's exactly what they want, is just to
Yeah.
feel. And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are free, right? Like we talk about this all the time. We are free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We just forgot. And so it's reconnecting to
Yeah.
that. And then, like John said, then when you're in that
Yeah.
state of freedom, then you're allowing everything that you want to experience to come
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and then it's just not. It doesn't even see the whole. I've just talked to you about this before, Wendy, from my studies, but the whole concept of imperturbability, where
Right.
if nothing bothers you, you're fully healed. If nothing, no one bothers you, you are fully realised, you're fully healed. But up until that point, anything that bothers you or anything that triggers you, which is a more extreme version of saying it,
Sure.
is an indication of where you're not free, or where I'm not free, or
Yeah.
where whoever isn't free,
Yeah.
So it's just, and we are free. We're freely having a limited experience.
We're freely plugged into a matrix reality, a limited
Yeah, exactly.
programming.
It's synthetic, like this.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
whole reality is just. It's artificial. Like the mind. This is another thing. The mind is a program. And then
Yeah.
all thought is also a program. So it's about clearing thought. It's about clearing the mind out of the way, so you can actually be clear. Now, I have experienced this before. I was high on LSD at the time, but I had a clarity of mind that I've never experienced before. I used to take big doses of LSD recreation. I've had some really, really intense and powerful experiences because of it. But yeah, I remember very clearly my whole head, my whole brain felt absolutely clear when one of these moments, and I was empathic and telepathic and everything.
Oh.
And that's when my mind was completely quiet. So that's the journey. That's where I think we're going.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to take everybody a little while to get there.
Sure.
A little while could be 200, 300 years.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I think for everybody, I think
it could
that's
be
pretty
tomorrow.
accurate. Yeah. For everybody to
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
get there.
So,
yeah. It just sometimes really blows to be on the front lines of this. It's kind of an isolating, and the one thing that they get, and not that we don't get, our community and our connection and our collective consciousness of just the Lightworker group, but it's almost like they have this kind of built-in support system, and we sometimes, because we're like you said, in the physical body, and we're geographically separated, we get that isolation feeling so easily. I think more so than those who are hanging on, because there are other people hanging on and they can see each other and they're like, okay, cool, we're just going to hang on, and we are looking at them instead of and trying to figure out our own missions, and it gets to be an isolating thing. But
yeah, I completely agree with you. I've been through that more than anyone else, because I've been out here
really
in
alone.
a rural place. Yeah,
and you didn't know anybody.
There's been months here where I spent months inside without seeing another soul. So, but there's a huge caveat there. What does that lead to? That leads to introspection. That leads
Absolutely.
to self-examination. That led to
self-care.
Well,
even.
self-care, exactly. If everything around me, if I removed all the external causes, quote unquote, of what could annoy me, and if I'm still getting annoyed, it means that I'm the problem.
Yep.
So, and that was just by process of elimination, almost quite scientifically. So there's a lot to be said for the whole. And even now, now that I'm thinking of probably I'm going to be here for another year, still isolated, still in a place where it's very remote, But now I'm cool about it because I realised that, okay, well, let's make. I've lived in this house for a year, well, almost over a year now, thinking I can't wait to get out of here. I haven't furnished the place at all. I haven't made it homely at all. So imagine living in a house that feels like, well, first of all, it's barely furnished, so you've got that. But imagine living in a house like that for a year, thinking I can't wait to get out of here. Can't wait to get out of here. Can't wait to get out of here. You know, so I've surrendered to that. So this whole isolation piece is huge for people like us. It's a huge opportunity.
True.
And you know, anything that comes up, you know, I'm still vulnerable to triggers, probably more so than most people, because when they go off, I feel like I'm completely alone and I haven't got anybody else to call on.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a practice where I'm getting better at being okay. Cool. There's something coming up. Let's work with that for the time being. Let's let that be. So, yeah, I don't know where that was going really, but that's kind of allowing, and examining the self.
Yeah,
and that's where everybody's at right now, on some level.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this divide, and we've been talking about isolation and all that. And I'm really feeling that this is, like a collective experience. And in this collective experience, right, it doesn't matter if we're feeling really divided, if we're feeling separated, if we're feeling lost, if we're feeling lonely, we can always take a deep breath, knowing that so many millions and billions of people at the same moment are also just doing that, right? They're also taking a breath. So we're taking a collective breath, and this upward moving spiral of ascension, doesn't matter how chaotic it is, and we can find a moment of peace. Oh my God, peace. I wanted to say. I don't know why my mouth didn't want it to pronounce peace. That's very interesting. A collective moment of peace in that, and and then we can feel a bit more of this connection, a bit more of unconditional love, and a bit more of just togetherness, right? Because we all breathe all the time and our heart beats all the time, right?
Yeah, and that's our connection. I mean, that's therein lies our connection, is through the heartbeat and the breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lovely place to wrap it up, I think. Does anybody have any final thoughts? And we will, since we have been on for an hour here. I guess we lost Amir. No. I don't know if I know he's in Turkey and it's very late there, so.
No, I don't know where he went, but I'm sure we'll be on the next one at some point.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot of fun, ladies.
Yes, thank you all. I think we hashed out what we needed to hash out. We always say, even if nobody listens, this was really good for us, and we put this energy out into the ether, right? We put it, where the intention is always to raise the vibe.
So people can still listen to it. It's there. So if you're listening on YouTube, then you know that this is going also live on the Inner Vibers Club, where you can actually join us, right? You don't have to just listen to the replay. You can come here, you can speak, you can share your thoughts, share your heart, and exactly, and contribute, and then you'll be on the next recording, right? That's why we're doing it here. And
I think I can link the Inner Vibers Club in Clubhouse in the video. Probably I can put the link.
You can,
in the description. Awesome. So please join us. We do try to do every Tuesday at 11:30 Mountain Standard, whatever time that would be for you. We try to make it so that it kind of works for just about everybody, for the most people on the planet. Because we're all over the place. I'm in Colorado, Bianca's in Austria, John's in Portugal. So we are all over the globe. And this time works well. So please join us. And like I said, we talk about ascension topics, what is kind of coming through as a prevalent energy or messages that will affect the most people. So if you're called to listen, then there is a nugget of wisdom in here for you. So thank you all for joining us. And I am going to say goodbye.